I'm Daniel Kellogg, president of Young Concert Artists. On our program this evening, we have 5 artists who are currently on the YCA roster, and we have 3 YCA alumni. This is a great way to begin our 60th anniversary season, because indeed all season long we will be celebrating our history and the great legacy of YCA founder Susan Wadsworth. We will now have a conversation with these 3 alumni: pianist Ursula Oppens, flutist Susan Rotholz, and violinist Benjamin Beilman. We'll talk to them about their time on the roster and about their own memories of working with Susan Wadsworth. Indeed, our alumni have a deep admiration and gratitude for Susan and her passion for helping young musicians get their careers started. Later on the program, you'll hear violinist Benjamin Beilman offer the world premiere of YCA composer Chris Rogerson's Partita for Violin. Then you'll hear Ursula Oppens play Elliott Carter's 2 Diversions for Piano, a piece specifically written for her. And then lastly, flutist Susan Rotholz will join YCA saxophonist Stephen Banks for a set of short pieces. It's great to have these alumni on our program, and we're so delighted to talk with them now. Please enjoy. Hi, this is Dan Kellogg, president of YCA, and I am talking to pianist Ursula Oppens. Hi, Ursula, how are you?
Hi, Dan. I'm fine. I'm very happy to be talking with you.
We are so grateful that you will be playing our concert this evening, joining Stephen and Susan Rotholz to play some chamber music. Thank you very much for that.
Well, I've always been very excited about everything that YCA does, and to be part of it as a somewhat older concert artist at this moment is terrific.
You joined YCA as a solo pianist in 1968, and then later sort of joined the roster a second time with the chamber ensemble Specula Musicae. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So tell us about when you first joined YCA. Do you remember the audition? Can you tell us anything about that day?
I knew about Young Concert Artists because I had heard Richard Good's debut with them, which was a couple years before me. So I was sort of always hoping to do it. Of course, Susan was part of it. I mean, very much part of it, but I cannot remember the other members of the jury at this point.
Do you remember?
It was thrilling. It wasn't quite on the scale that it is now. I mean, it was far from being on that scale. I mean, you didn't have auditions all over the world. And so it was a little bit probably easier to get on the roster than it is now.
Do you remember your debut program? Do you remember 1 or 2 of the pieces that you played?
Yes. I played, I think, Opus 10, number 3 of Beethoven, and Schumann's Carnival, and the world premiere of a piece by John Harbison, which in a way, when I look back on it, it kind of amazes me that I did that, because I was, much more naive than I am now. And of course, John is a fantastic composer. And I almost didn't know what I was doing. I knew him from Harvard and, loved his music. I played a lot with his wife, who was a violinist. And there was something else on the program, but those are the 3 things that I remember.
As part of our anniversary year, we are celebrating Susan Wadsworth, our founder. And I was wondering if you could share any stories of Susan from your time on the roster.
Susan has these amazing ears. I mean, I have to say, one of the reasons I think that so many of the YCA people have become very important in the musical world is that Susan's instincts are just unbelievably good. And that is something that can't be replicated. I mean, I hope it's replicated, but that's almost the most important thing. Susan, but she was very supportive. And, there's actually, I remember one time she arranged for Fred Cherry and me to meet a presenter from, I think, the upper Midwest. He talked about arranging a tour, and we would have loved it. And then later he told Susan, and she told us, that he really couldn't have us as an unmarried man and woman traveling together.
Oh my goodness. So there was no tour.
So she was very supportive, in every way. The whole office was. And, from the very, very beginning, we were doing residencies, we were talking to students, we weren't just going and not speaking and playing. We were in, we'd have lunches with students where we'd maybe talk a bit and play a bit. And I think this kind of audience development started, was going on from the day I was with YCA. And I remember being in a lot of, this wasn't with Susan, but sort of the delight of having played in almost every small college town in America. It really is fun, we were in Minnesota at the start of American Public Radio, at St. John's University, and things like that, before they even were known. And that was just a very exciting part of being a YCA performer.
Welcome, I'm Dan Kellogg, president of Young Concert Artists, and I'm talking to Susan Rotholz, who joined the roster. Hi, and did you join the roster in 1988 with the ensemble Hexagon?
Yes, I did. 1988. That's 32 years ago. That's a long time ago. But Hexagon we won YCA without a name. We won as the no name sextet, and okay. then when we came up with all these possibilities of names, and Hexagon was the thing that stuck, and it was a wonderful group. I think we lasted 10 years, kind of like the Beatles. And we went all over. We went all over the country playing concerts, and Mexico, Japan, Canada, and it was a great experience. And all the members of Hexagon were just passionate players, and really funny and really smart. And it was just a pleasure to be together, playing concerts all over the place, and being presenting this music was it was so great. It was such a gift, to be able to do that, and to perform, and to feel like you were vital as a young artist, and the support from YCA was really astounding. And so that was such a great start.
Do you remember any stories about Susan from your time on the roster?
Yes, I definitely remember stories of Susan. She was full of ideas and just spirit, and just wanted to make the most out of her young artists, and so here we were at Hexagon, and she was talking to me about, she wanted to speak to me. She wanted to meet me at a restaurant. And so we met at a restaurant, and I don't know if this is the greatest story, but anyway, we met at a restaurant, a Chinese restaurant above the ground floor near Carnegie Hall. And it was pouring rain, and we both kind of ended up meeting at this restaurant, and we were sopping wet, and her shoes were completely soaked. And I just remember having this conversation about what I was going to wear for the debut concert. She wanted me to be like panache, and have this, and I'm kind of I don't know, I'm not flamboyant in how I dress and everything. I'm just kind of quiet. But she wanted me to just kind of go all out and be sort of the label of the group, Mm. And at the same time as she was telling me this, Susan had her shoes in her hand by the table, right? And she was like drying them with all the napkins in her shoes. Maybe, I don't know, that's not the greatest story, but I just knew she cared so much, she was just full of vitality and personality, and she just wanted to teach me how to present myself in the most forward and positive and sort of like generous way. And I don't know if I ever did that in her way, but I've always felt like, you know, how you present yourself is really important. What you wear, how you contain the spirit of the performance, you know, in how you present yourself. And I think she definitely made that an important aspect of what she was teaching us.
Hi, I'm Daniel Kellogg, president of Young Concert Artists, and today I'm talking with violinist Benjamin Beilman, who joined the roster in 2010. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. So we are celebrating the 60th anniversary of Young Concert Artists, and the first question I wanted to ask was, could you tell us a little bit about when you joined the roster? Maybe the moment that you won or something about the auditions.
Sure. Yeah. So I joined the roster in 2010, and it was kind of a whirlwind year for me. I was still a student at the Curtis Institute. I had sort of accumulated all the training that I felt was necessary to start putting myself out there for international competitions. And earlier in that same year, I had been fortunate to win the Montreal competition. I got I think third prize at the Indianapolis competition. It was sort of like, okay, I have my repertoire. This feels ready. And my teacher at the time, Ida Kavafian, obviously another YCA alum, was really adamant that this would be a great career move for me. So of course I was like, yeah, I have the repertoire, I'm ready to go, I feel good. And I was lucky to be chosen.
Do you have, I don't know, a memory of your time on the roster, a story, maybe of Susan Wadsworth, or some other aspect of working with YCA that you might share?
I think it was my Washington, DC debut recital at the Kennedy Center. And of course, I think Yaquan and I had played that same program 2 or 3 times prior to the DC recital as a kind of, you know, working the program up and getting things really situated and feeling comfortable on stage with these pieces. And I remember, you know, we were in our dress rehearsal, I was feeling really good. We were sounding great. It felt really balanced and very kind of intuitive. And Susan, as is her specialty, she walks onto stage and says, you know, sounds great, fine. You know, these lights are not right. Ben, you need to stand here. And she essentially just stage directs the entire thing, and it becomes a kind of production, which of course, at the time I hadn't fully considered this idea that, you know, people come to the concert, of course, for the music, but it's vitally important that it looks right. And I just remember spending the next, I think, 20 minutes, and Susan was ordering around the stagehand saying, you know, move the piano this way, no, this way, okay, no, change this light. So yeah, Susan had her eye available and focused on so many things. I think kind of one of my fondest memories, you know, apart from YCA, the people there, Monica, Vicky, Susan, all so supportive and helping to kind of navigate the early stages of a career. But I think my personal favorite memory is I had been engaged for 2 recitals in St. Thomas and St. John down, you know, Virgin Islands. And it was, I think, back-to-back concert days. And it was unfortunate because I think the trip was scheduled to be only 2.5 days or something. And it was in the middle of February. I was living in Philadelphia at the time. And it was sort of like, please, can I have a little bit more sun? But the hotel and the flight situation only worked out where I could be there a short period of time. And then, of course, we were very lucky that there was a hurricane, not in the Virgin Islands, but actually further up the coast. So we had sunny weather. We couldn't fly back to Philadelphia. And I got to hang out on the beach for an extra 2 nights. So that was a nice perk.
What advice do you offer for young performers who are just getting started, young artists on the roster right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would recommend that you take, I recommend this for myself, and I think it applies to any young performer as well, but see this time of isolation and separation hopefully as an asset. This idea that you have very few times when you actually can spend this amount of time working on your sort of wish list pieces, working on exactly what you want to say with a specific piece. Either spend 7 months on one single piece, learn 7 different concertos in a month, and also I think it's so vitally important to take time away from the instrument or away from your craft too, to really feel like you are drawing inspiration and energy from different things that are not just purely music. I think obviously everyone's struggling in their own way, but I do see this time as kind of a rare opportunity to really kind of invest in yourself as a human.
Thank you, Ursula, Susan, and Ben, for talking with me this evening. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope you enjoy our program.